Well, Julian, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here. In particular, like I mentioned, this is the first time I'm having a professional property investor here with us to talk all about property investments. And I know that some people would say, well, that's kind of investments. Why do I need to invest in properties? But I think if you kind of think about what we're going to talk about in this episode and think outside of the box a little bit, you're going to see that property investment is actually also a very beneficial way for you in order to make sure that you secure your future and you can make a business out of it. Now, why don't I hand over to you, Julian? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi, Henrietta. Thank you so much for this lovely opportunity. I'm a property investor. I'm a coach. I'm an author. A mom. So many things. But briefly, that's what I do.
And you and I already had a conversation before we started hitting the record button about this. And I just loved your story. But I would love for you to share it with the audience as well, because you spoke about how you got started in the property investment area, how you got started investing in your first properties, and how that kind of built to where you are now. Because I mean, you're an accomplished author, you're also a coach, you're doing so many great things. And in a matter of, oh my gosh, you said you started in 2016. Am I correct for saying that?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so it all started in I think about 2015. 2015, we were trying to look for an extra income, how to make money, and my husband landed on Airbnb, and we tried it. We put up one of our rooms in our home, and we put it up on Airbnb. And that room really changed our lives because it was able to pay off the mortgage. We started living a really good life out of that money, where on Airbnb people come on a nightly basis, weekly basis, and even if they decide to come for a month, they pay the nightly rate. So if you're charging £40 a night, they will pay that for the whole month. So that really changed our lives. We became excited and things were happening. Debts were being paid off, and my husband was like, we need to buy a house. I think this is a good business. Let's buy a house and do the proper thing, rent out all the rooms. Imagine if we have a house, a 4-bedroom house, and we are able to do all this in one house. Would it be great? And we're like, yeah. But before we could now venture into buying the houses, he suggested that we go on some training.
Yes.
So we had about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We went to different trainings, different people, and we learned so many investing strategies in property. There was so many, but then what really caught our eyes that seemed instant was the rent-to-rent strategy, whereby even if you have your deposit of say 20,000, 40,000, instead of buying just one house, you can actually rent like 5 houses and even get more. You'll be able to do a down payment and start the business up and running immediately. And then with time, you can buy the houses, but you have a business already up and running. And because we were already doing Airbnb, we knew how to maneuver around Airbnb. We knew, so we just connected with that. And then we went on to start looking for houses, renting them, different types. We had studios, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 4-bedroom. We were renting different kinds and then turning them into Airbnb, where you can, be able to rent it out on a nightly basis. And it was wonderful. and our business grew. And right now we have more than 20 apartments in Luton. And it's been great. And, you know, I'm now teaching other people about the serviced accommodation.
Oh my gosh, it is such a phenomenal story. And like I said, before we hit the recording button, Julian and I already had a conversation about her journey and how that has transpired from where they just started by renting out one room in their house to where she is now. How many books have you already written? Because I'm fascinated by that as well. The fact that you had time to do that as well.
I've written 3 books so far, and I've co-authored some books as well. And yeah, you know, doing the business enables you to really concentrate on lots of other things you can do.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I love the fact as well that you said that before you and your husband went to take that big decision of buying another property, you decided, listen, we need to go and do more research. We need to go and educate ourselves in order to learn what we can do and what we can't do, because there's so many rules and regulations and laws when it comes to investing in properties. And if you don't have that kind of backup and knowing what you're doing, if it's right or wrong, you know, it can really be your downfall. So, and I talk from experience as well. For those of you that don't know, I'm also a property investor, which is why Julian and I are loving this conversation. But I did exactly the same thing. I started going down the road of educating myself. I got mentors, I got coaches before I even invested in my first property. And I'm so glad I did it, because that first property I invested in, it was the best property. Everything just worked out so well. And I don't think I would have had that kind of a success if I didn't have the education up front. And that's why I'm so glad, Julian, that you're going to be here, because you're going to give us some great tips as well. You're going to specifically talk about how to start your own property journey with minimum funds, with little funds. And I'm really excited because in so many ways, people want to know how to start their business. And I work with female entrepreneurs who say, I want to start a business. I want to run a successful business, but they're not always sure where that is or how that looks like for them. Where if you talk about properties, that might spark an interest where people go, I could do that. So I don't have to start my own business, like, you know, offering services or selling products, but I can go and invest in in properties, which is a business in itself. So why don't I hand over to you? Because I think the first thing that you topped up a little bit about was the Airbnb. Talk to us about that first as well.
So it will be one of the ways that people can start on their property journey with little funds. Say you already have your own house, you live in a house, because we have our home is a 3-bedroom home, and we just put another extension just separate out of our home. We made it specifically for the guests now. If they don't have to come inside our home anymore, we just created an apartment outside where they can actually come. They don't have to come and live with us inside. So one of the strategies is Airbnb. If you have a big house, a 2-bedroom house, even I remember one of my mentees, she had a 1-bedroom house. And when she heard my story, she said, I'm going to try what she said. She started living in the sitting room, sleeping on the floor. When the guests would come, she would try to sleep in the sitting room and they would take on her room. And do you know that she grew her business to about 5 properties? So she left that house that she was renting. She negotiated with the landlord, kept on paying the rent, but she turned it into an Airbnb, moved on now to a bigger house. She moved on to a 2-bedroom, and she was doing the same thing, and the business grew. She moved on to another 3-bedroom. She grew her business, and she is such an inspiring story. So Airbnb is a platform where they allow people with their properties to put their properties there, and they can share rooms, they can share a house, even those who have tents, like if you like camping, and you're going somewhere, you don't want to stay in their house, but you can just pitch a tent in your garden, and maybe they have some facilities they could come and cook. That is Airbnb.
Yeah.
So people like to use that platform, Airbnb. If you have an extra room in your house, you can actually make money with that. And so from the money you get, you can now decide either to go and rent. That is my next point, rent to rent, or buy your own house, depending on the area you're going to invest. You can rent someone else's property and start your Airbnb, or leave it as a rent to rent. People can rent it for long term. For example, if I rent your property, say for £500, but I get someone else who wants to rent it for about 800. So I'm still making a difference, some little money from a property I don't own. From those who want to stay long term, but are willing to pay the property for 800, even £1,000. And then I need to go further with the serviced accommodation or Airbnb. When I say Airbnb, it's a bit more easier than using the professional word serviced accommodation. So if someone rents a house, say a 1-bedroom house, and puts it on the Airbnb, people will come and pay it on a nightly basis. So say £40 or $40 a night. And within a month, if you've been earning £40 a day, a night, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It will be able to pay off the rent, which was about $600 or $500 pounds. And then you keep the balance. You pay off your bills, you pay off your whatever, and you still have money from something you don't own. It's just the head, using your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Airbnb they don't need any upfront money for you to bring in, to pay that, oh, pay this money and then they will host your property. No, they only take the commission, which is 1% from your property.
Yeah.
So,
and I would also just like to point out for those of you listening, so if this has kind of had a little light bulb moment for you where you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need to make a bit of extra money. And yes, I've got an extra room in my house that I can rent out by Airbnb as an example. Obviously, depending on which country you're in, just a small disclaimer, you need to go and check to see what the laws and regulations and rules are in order to work with Airbnb in order to do that. And then also, just from another aspect, is obviously if you need to check with your mortgage lender to make sure that you can rent out a room as well. So there's obviously some things there that you need to check out first. We are not giving you financial advice. We are just talking about what Julian has done, and you can kind of copy those kind of ideas, but then you've got to do your own research as well. So just putting a little disclaimer in there to make sure that you understand the concept of finding out what kind of laws and rules you have to abide by in your country in order to make an Airbnb a success story for yourself as well. But it is absolutely feasible if you're willing to gain your own knowledge, to go and do your research and to find out how you can do something like Airbnb. Then by all means, it will be well worth it for you. And I think the same goes for rent to rent, because I know in the UK, it is something that is happening and people are using the rent to rent kind of strategy, but it might not be working in your country and there might be laws against that. So again, do your own research. We're not offering financial advice here. We are just telling you what Julian has done, and you can kind of take those same concepts and obviously apply it for yourself as well, providing you are abiding by the law wherever you are. So I just wanted to put that in there. But I think apart from the Airbnb and the rent to rent, which are fantastic strategies on its own, talk to us about HMOs, which obviously stands for House of Multiple Occupancy.
House of multiple occupation. So, and a house of multiple occupation is usually 4-bedroom and above. 4 bedroom and a house above. So you can rent again, or you can buy if you've bought your 4 bedroom house and probably the money is not coming out properly. It's a lot of hard work to manage. You can decide to turn your 4 bedroom or 5 bedroom into a hotel facility. So you rent out, you make each room nice and lovely, make it up for people, and then you will rent it out, each room differently on the platform on Airbnb, and then get money. So HMO, usually they have a lot of the councils or have a lot of laws that govern HMOs. But once
Yes.
you follow their laws, the doors, they want fire doors, they want to have different access to the house. You know, there's a lot, which is good because it makes the guest that comes into your house feel comfortable and they feel safe. If someone feels safe, then they will recommend their other people. If they feel unsafe, you get bad reviews. They won't refer you to their friends. But if you create a very good environment for them, then it will be easy for them to come back again and again. Companies like this kind of business, HMOs, that offer hotel facilities, because they can just send out 4 of their employees in one place. They know they are all together in one place. Companies do love that. Even the council does love that. You could get people from the council who have a project and they need it in one place, and they will take on the property instead of everyone being in a different place. They all come together. It feels like home. They have their own bedrooms and they just have a communal area. They have a kitchen together. It feels nice.
Yeah. And
So
it's funny when you're talking about HMOs from a professional level, which I really like that you're highlighting that, because a lot of people, when you talk about HMOs, they would first think about student accommodation. That's normally where the mind starts veering towards first, about universities having HMOs there for students in particular. But the downside of obviously having HMOs for students is they work in semesters and they've got those long periods of where everything closes down. So your HMO will be standing empty. But I love the fact that you're talking it from a professional level, where having HMOs in kind of like a hotel aspect, where you're renting it out to businesses, companies, and those kind of things. So I think that's another kind of more professional level of looking at HMOs.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about when they're empty, because it will always be busy. There are lots of companies. Everybody wants their families, when they're coming on holiday, they want to be in one place instead of everybody going in different families. They're big families that want to stay together, especially summertime. It's beautiful. They just take on the whole house. And if you're charging each room, say, £25 per night, imagine all the 4 or 5 rooms you're renting out for a week. It's lovely.
It adds up.
So yeah, so all these don't really require so much money. You can actually start with little funds and then grow, go to the next property, maybe another HMO, maybe another. And the HMO as well can be a rented, or if you've already bought your property and you're struggling. I have seen a lot of houses that students, people are doing the student accommodation, and the landlords are so tired because they trash the place. They don't look after. They don't have time. They're busy. But trust me, if you're doing HMO serviced accommodation, it is one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see, because everything is kept to a high standard. Everything is clean and neat in position, and the people that come are respectable. It's very few times that you will get people who come and trash the place, and even if they do pay for the damages.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do pay for those damages. You can sue them, but you can't sue a student when they come and do damage to your property. That's it. You don't have much.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
So
really love this conversation because I just think it's so different from the normal conversations I have with other female entrepreneurs. And that's why I love it so much, because it is just from a different aspect, looking at, especially now these days, how you can make money, on the sideline. And you might be running a business, or you might be employed full time. You just think, I need a little bit of extra income. What do I do? This is one of those perfect things that you can do. Yes, you've got to be open-minded with the fact that knowing you're getting somebody in who's going to live on your premises, but they're paying you for that. And obviously you can vet them as well. And this is where you can be very, you can work in this kind of synergy in this moment where you go like, I want to make sure that whoever come and lives on my premises, they're the ones that I can trust. They're the ones that will pay the rent. So you can vet them as well. You can obviously have that conversation with them and meet them. But then I think from another aspect, just going back to how things work, is obviously making sure that you've got things in place, i.e., two very important things. Make sure that you've got a very good solicitor who can help you with drawing up agreements. And then also make sure that you've got a great financial advisor when it comes to making some big decisions. And then obviously, I think the third one that I want to mention is just getting a good accountant, because there are some points where you're going to have to think about the accounting and the taxes and all those kind of things. So if you have those three things in place, you can do anything with this kind of investing in properties, either Airbnb, rent to rent, or HMOs.
I think mostly on the point of having a lawyer. In this business, you don't really need to draw up contracts, because the people who come in are just like guests. They don't need a contract with you. But you may need a contract if you're doing the rent to rent. The landlord needs to know that you're not going to live in this property. You are going to use it as a business.
Yes.
So if you do not tell them up front and get into trouble, that is a big problem. You need a solicitor who will draw up a contract that is in both your favor and the favor of but outlining exactly what you're going to do with the property.
Yeah, no, those were some sound advice and some great things as well. And in so many senses, it makes me get really excited, because now I'm thinking a little bit outside the box. It's like, what else can I do, in order to make sure that I can boost my properties up a little bit as well. So I'm really enjoying this conversation. So for those of you listening, I hope that you got some great pointers here. Julian, before we go, is there any last final tips that you want to give the audience when it comes to investing in properties?
It's possible. Property is very enjoyable. I think it's a vehicle that makes you earn money while you're sleeping. You can do it. It's not meant for, when you hear about property, it's like as if it's another department for special people who are clever in this and that. But it is something that every person can do. If you feel you want to get on the property ladder, please do, because it's possible.
Yes. And especially when you see the return on the investment, everything coming back for you, you just realize that, oh my gosh, this is possible. But it's not going to happen unless you make it happen. That's what I always say. So for those of you who wants to learn more, if you really feel like this is kind of like a direction that you want to go in and you need some more advice, then Julian is offering you a free 30-minute consultation call where she can talk things through with you, see where you are now, where you want to be, what your ideas are, and she might be able to steer you in a direction and also offer you some advice of where you need it. So for those of you listening, if you want to get in touch with Julian, she's got a lovely 30-minute call waiting for you, and I've got the link below in my show notes, so you can go click on it and then connect with Julian and obviously have a chat with her. Even if you just want to hear her story again, or, just arrange a chat just to see how she did it. And even if you're already investing in properties, but you kind of want to think differently, oh my gosh, get in touch with Julian. She's got years of experience. And like she said, she's already invested in 20 properties. So she knows what she's talking about. Oh my gosh, Julian, I really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for being on the podcast. It has been phenomenal. I think we can talk about this for hours, but we'll limit the time for now so we don't overwhelm everybody. But again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you too, Henrietta. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been an honor to be on your podcast.